There's a lot of competition when it comes to the luxury midsize three-row SUV segment, including the Genesis GV80, the Lexus TX, or I would say even the Mazda CX90 at this point. Today though, we're driving the Infiniti QX60 to see if it has what it takes to still compete. Now for full disclosure, I am actually driving the 2024 model year, which still includes the V6. For 2025 though, it's gonna be a new 4-cylinder. And before you complain too much, it actually gets 16 pound-feet more of torque, and it's supposed to be more accessible in the entire rev range. So you should have that kind of at your disposal as needed. The interesting thing here is it's a variable compression, which basically what that means is it can change its compression ratio from 8:1 to 14:1, depending on the engine load and what is necessary. And so in essence, you get some of the same performance levels of the V6, and you get some better fuel economy in the process. Let's go ahead and just take a look at the styling here. I think the side profile is my favorite personally. I love the floating roof design, and it kind of slopes back, kind of gives me Range Rover vibes. I think this is a very good looking car overall. It's kind of a shame that Infinitis aren't more popular than they are, but we're gonna go over some of the interior bits and I think maybe why that might be the case, but overall stylistically, I think it looks really good. The autographed trim is what I'm driving here, and it does give you this black two-tone paint. This is the burgundy red here. Absolutely gorgeous. In direct sunlight, it pops like a candy apple sort of. And I really, really love that they've done these rockers here along the bottom, which kind of compresses the door panel and makes it not look quite as chunky as it would otherwise. Interesting choice for them to do some body cladding around the wheel arches. I'm not sure that looks great, especially considering this is the top of the line autographed trim. I would have expected that to be a little bit body colored. So let's talk about what else is new for the 2025 model year. So you've got that new engine. Another thing is a brand new key fob. If you walk towards the car, it will unlock, and if you walk away from the car, it will automatically lock. As well as there's a new black edition available on the Luxe trim only. However, what you do get with that Luxe trim is you get a black grille surrounds, you get black painted wheels, you get some illumination, which actually looks really cool. The autograph also gets that. You get an illuminated Infiniti logo up front. It's a shame that that black edition does not get the roof in black. That is only available here on the autograph trim. And you know what, to be honest, I think what I'm gonna show you throughout this video is that the autograph is not necessarily the trim I think that most people are gonna get. This makes a lot more sense down at the Luxe, which is the second up from base trim, because it still maintains a decent price point, and you'll see it gets a lot of standard features all the way down to that Luxe. So let's go ahead and take a closer look here up front. I love you get the Infiniti spelled out here. This black grille, which is glossy, looks really nice. You get some fake vents here, but it does match that grille. And then right here, the headlights look very nice. It's a piano key sort of daytime running light. I believe it's from the Luxe trim and up, you do get 20-inch wheels. This design here, I think looks nice. It's nothing really that special. The black rims on the black edition look very nice. Coming around the back, tail end design here is great. It's very clean. It's interesting that they did not put exposed exhaust. I think it would have been really cool to have two like larger kind of chrome ports there. Back here, there is no handle, which I think is a very interesting choice. You get a very, very clean back end because of it. And it took me a second, but the button to open the back hatch is right here and pops right open to expose the trunk area. A decent amount of storage here behind the third row, but I imagine most people will keep this third row folded. And to do that, it's really easy. You just have to pull these latches here and then fold them flat, like so. And with that, you get quite a bit of storage space here. The other nice thing is you get a couple of buttons to fold these back up automatically. The headrests don't pop up, but works pretty okay. So let's just pop those back up. We'll climb into the back here in a bit. Under here, you do get some underfloor storage. It's interesting that Infiniti chose to not include, there's some dividers here. They are about $50 from Infiniti if you order the car with that. Interesting choice to not include those. That would be helpful, just to organize some stuff down there. All right, before hopping fully into the vehicle, I just want to take a quick look at the door panel here because I think it's a really well sculpted door panel. I love what they've done with the Bose surround sound system here. It's kind of this concave speaker mesh here, but it feels like it's really well sculpted into the door card. I also love the large cubbies down here. This can actually fit a full 32-ounce Nalgene or Hydro Flask or whatever you use, but a full-size water bottle fits in there, which is great because I don't see that actually in many vehicles. And then hopping in here, there is this really, really cool pass-through storage cubby right here. This allows you to fit, I would assume, like a full size, like women's purse, but it's accessible by both the driver and passenger, and a really good spot, and it's out of the way. So now that we're in the vehicle, let's just work our way from left to right, top to bottom. The first thing you'll notice is the gorgeous leather in here. This is, again, the autograph trim, and so you do get this really, really beautiful, quilted leather up here that matches the seats. Unfortunately, it is only available in this top trim, but it does look quite nice, and it does have this, open grain wood right above it, so that looks really good. As you move your way down, though, the leather isn't quite as nice, but you do get, wrapped around the climate controls here, leather wrapped around the glove box, and then it matches the seats really, really nice as well. Here you'll see autograph is embossed into the leather. These are heated and cooled. You get cooled seats all the way down to the Luxe trim. You get heated standard across the board. Up here you'll have a 12-inch display here and another 12-inch display as well. I believe some of the lower trims maybe get a smaller screen here, but I'm not entirely sure. The one thing I will note about this screen, the software for the actual integrated screen is terrible. It's functional and it's responsive. However, it just looks dated. This looks like it's 10 years old. I'm not sure how Infiniti hasn't upgraded this yet and hasn't, taken this to the next level. The QX80 is doing a lot of really interesting stuff with the interior. I'd love to see that kind of passed down to the QX60. Another thing that I've noticed throughout my time spending with it is, for one, it's available with wireless CarPlay, but Android Auto is only wired. And the other thing is this section over here. So you get this side view, which can display anything from, weather to what you're currently playing to, there's all kinds of stuff you can configure this with. However, there's no way to turn it off. So even though it's a 12-inch screen, you really can only use about 8 inches here for your CarPlay. So in that respect, it's kind of very similar to some entry-level vehicles in terms of your actual display size. And if you compare that to something like the Lexus TX, where you get a massive, giant screen there that takes up this whole area, this, hopping to this feels like you're kind of stepping a little bit into the past. Up here, you do get a rear view camera mirror. This is standard on the autograph. I believe it's optional on some other trims. It actually is quite nice. I'll put a cutaway here. Having this makes a very big difference in your visibility out the rear of the vehicle. Speaking of cameras, I'm going to pull up this camera for the vehicle itself. Up front, you get some trajectory lines on both a 360 camera and through the front bumper. That's great. It shows you where the tires are going to land and where kind of the front of the vehicle is sitting. If I hit the button again, I love this. You get a front wheel camera, so help you kind of parallel park. And then, of course, the rear with trajectory lines as well. The camera quality could be better. I'm not going to lie. It's pretty grainy. And the odd thing about it to me is that if it's using this camera for not only the rear view camera, but also for the rear view mirror, this looks so much worse than this. And so I'm a little confused why those look different. But anyway. The steering wheel feels nice in the hands. You get a little bit better leather on the top two trims. The buttons, though, are something straight out of Nissan, and these don't feel high quality. They kind of move around. They're kind of cheapy plastic. The scroll wheel here isn't even centered. Like, This, to me, for something that is a high touch point surface, I'm surprised they didn't do something better. And the same can be said for these turn signal stalks. There's nothing, you know, these tactile kind of buttons don't feel like something that you really enjoy using. Over here, you also get some blank switches, which, considering this is the top level trim, I'd love to see, you know, all of these filled out, or this to be shrunk, or the buttons to be enlarged. Now, the climate controls. I like that there are quote unquote physical buttons. However, to me, it's the worst of both worlds of having a touchscreen and physical buttons. Like, the whole point of a touchscreen is to get rid of buttons so that you can make a really clean looking cockpit. And then the point of physical controls are to make it easier to operate. This is kind of the worst of both. So you still have a bunch of buttons that you see all the time, but yet now you have no tactile feel for these buttons. I can't feel for the fan speed. I can't feel for the mode selector. I have dials for the temperature, which is great, but that's it. These are haptic, and so they do feel nice when you click them. It's not like, you know, they feel like you're touching a touch screen, but I just don't understand what they were trying to solve by doing this, because it isn't better than buttons and it isn't better than a touch screen, in my opinion. You do get a wireless charger. This is available down all the way, I believe all the way to the base trim, which is great to see. It's tucked away under. I always complain about all these wireless chargers all overheat. This one is, you know, it's kind of tucked under here. There's no active ventilation, but just the shade from there should help quite a bit. 2 cup holders with some spring-loaded, you know, holding power, and then a nice satin metal surround. In here you get a pretty deep center console. Doesn't go under at all. It's just kind of a box. But one thing to note is, my wife actually noticed this when she was riding passenger. When you open the glove box, it hits your knees. It's very close, and this seat is not very far up right now. It's a bit odd they didn't make it come more out up here, or, you know, I don't know. They could have redesigned this. I'm not sure. This is just an odd placement. I mean, you'd have to have pencil legs in order to not get hit by the glove box when you open it. Let's hop into the back seat and see how we fit back there. So the nice thing here is these are the captain's chairs. These are only available on the autograph trim, which is a little bit unfortunate because I'd love to see this available on all the trims. However, back here, you'll notice I have tons and tons of leg room. You know, a good 5 or 6 inches. I'm 5'10". I also have about 2 inches above my head. I get my own climate controls back here. These are heated as well. That's all the way down to the Luxe trim. You get a 150 watt AC plug. You get both USB-C and A. I love to see that, because you never know. You know, we're kind of in a weird transition of not everything is USB-C quite yet, so that's good to see. You get this center console back here. It is a little rickety, not gonna lie, but I did notice if you pull this panel out that looks like you probably shouldn't, there is a lever underneath, and you can actually pull this entire thing out. Not sure if that would give you much more usability out of this, but something you can do. See if we can get this panel back in. There we go. And then the other thing that's quite nice here is, again, on the door trim, you get the really nice wrap leather. Everything feels the same as the front seat, so that's great to see. But you get this button right here, which allows you to fold the entire seat forward without actually folding the back of the seat down, which allows you to keep a car seat in place while you access the third row. So super helpful for parents that are, you know, using car seats around everywhere they go. So climbing in back here, I'm gonna pull the seat back. And even back here, I do have a fair amount of knee room, maybe 1 inch or 2. I'm hiked up quite high, so my thigh isn't really sitting on the seat so much. I don't know that I want to spend a ton of time back here, but it definitely is doable for adults, but this will likely be for children. You do get a couple of USB-C ports back here, or sorry, excuse me, USB-A ports. And then you've got this weird little tray down here, which has a little liner for some reason. Let's go ahead and get this thing on the road and see how it drives. I'm driving the V6 of the 2024 model year. However, the 2025, like I mentioned before, will be getting the 4-cylinder. I still wanted to give you some driving impressions because a lot remains the same, and Infiniti claims that the new 4-cylinder should give you a larger power band and 16 more foot-pounds, so that power should be available more on demand. What I will say is the ride comfort in here is great. It's a very premium vehicle. I don't know that I would put it quite into the luxury category. It's not plush, but it is very comfortable, and there's a lot of rubber on those tires to really, really soak up bumps. As far as cabin noise is concerned, very, very quiet ride. The road noise is next to nothing. The wind noise is very, very small. I don't have any problems commuting in this, driving it around, even at highway speeds of 70, 80 miles an hour. It felt very, very much at home on the road. Handling, I'm not gonna lie, is a bit vague. The steering ratio is very slow, and you really do feel its size as you go around kind of twisty, turny roads. It just sort of leans over on itself and doesn't inspire a ton of confidence. But I'm confident that most people driving this aren't going to have any problem driving to and from soccer practice. Braking's an interesting one because on long stretches of downhills, I noticed that there was quite a bit of sort of warping of the rotors that happened. And so as the rotor heated up, you get this really, really bad pulsating. And then as it cooled down, it kind of returned back to normal. This isn't the first car that I've experienced that on, but it's something that I will note. The seats in here are pretty comfortable. They're pretty flat on the bottom, not super contoured, but I spent, a good 3 hours in them, didn't really ever have an issue with them. I will say that the massage on them is a nice feature to add, and I believe it's available on quite a few of the trim levels. It kind of still just feels like lumbar support that's just being kind of, pressed and unpressed, but I will say it was a handy feature to have on a longer trip. It's nice that ProPilot Assist is available on almost all of the trim levels except the base. However, I found that in use, it really ping-ponged me down the lane. It would kind of, hit either side of the lane and just kind of go back and forth. It also struggled with doing really steep turns, really curvy roads. Like there's no way it would work on a road like this. However, it did maintain speed really well, and it still alleviated some of the stress of driving on long commutes. So who is the QX60 for? I think it's for the budget-minded buyer. I think it particularly makes a lot of sense down in the lower trim levels, in the Luxe trim in particular, because you get a lot of bang for your buck. You get almost like all of the important features. You get cooled seats, you get large rims, you get heated seats in the rear, you get the ProPilot Assist, you get leather seats, you get lots of stuff for your money, and it's about $56,000 or $7,000 with destination. So it's not unreasonable. Where I don't really think this car makes sense though is in the upper trims. This one is the Autograph. It's about $68,000 with destination, and for that money you can get a lot of competitors, including the Lexus TX, which is going to give you a lot better solid build quality. It's going to have better tech. It's going to have a lot better plush ride. And then there's the Genesis GV80, which is going to be a lot better materials inside as well. Pretty similar ride, to be honest, but overall just a better looking interior in my opinion, though the rear seats, that third row is going to be a bit tighter. The Acura MDX offers kind of the most comparable pricing, starting at around $51,000, something like that. The drive is going to be a little bit more tuned towards the sportiness of the drive, and I think the tech is also going to be a little bit better in there as well. Anyway, it was great taking you along for the drive of the QX60. I hope to catch you in the next one. Thank you so much for watching.